from my heart place to your heart place, Inna Neal, to Heart Place Hospital podcast.
Yeah, it's beautiful to be here. I'm excited.
Yeah. And I like to start these podcasts with how we first met. And I actually look back in our chats, and we were exchanging chats back in August 2017. And you were doing the butterfly effect, I think, with
Amy
Cawley.
McCauley.
Yeah. And at the time I was doing Be Beautiful, so young women's workshops. So it's actually really lovely, our exchanges, lovely looking at it 7 years later. We were in that real feminine vibe, like I was sharing, you were sharing, if you've got anyone that want to share this with, and I was the same, and we were both really open to that. So it was lovely to see there wasn't competition, it was collaboration, and I thought that was very cool.
Open hearts.
Yeah, definitely. So I just want to introduce you. You're Inna Neal, and you're a transformational wisdom life coach and mentor for kids, families, individuals, businesses, schools, and organizations. And I really wanted to emphasize that part because we do see a lot of guides, transformational support. Often they don't mention the kids and families. So I really wanted to emphasize that about your work. And I think some of this, you've probably evolved a lot from this, but we'll hear more from you. But I've seen you speak. You're a speaker and you run workshops in person and online, and you support and guide others to live their best lives and lead life and business on purpose, which I love. Yeah. And your message is to remind others that there is not one extra person on this planet, that we have our gifts to share with the world and discover what that looks like for us. And while we're on our own journey, we realize that that you are an intuitive empath, and that you can identify limiting beliefs in individuals, help release these blocks, and guide them to see a clear path to living a meaningful life on purpose. That's that beautiful on purpose again. Yeah. Do you have anything to add to that? Has that shifted since?
The only thing that has changed was my capacity to hold that space even more open and from a more vaster, not actual word, but it's because a more vast perspective. So the strength of what what I can do, the uniqueness that I've come in here to just share and experience has become more bigger, more wider, more expansive. But thank you for saying that, because when you first said I looked it off of your website, I thought, oh man, that was 2018. That was a long time ago. But what was beautiful for me that you shared is that my purpose hasn't changed. My gifts haven't changed. My desire hasn't changed. My ability to receive and let it come through more powerfully, more deeply, more impactfully has expanded. But the core of it hasn't changed. So I thank you for that. Thank you for that reminder.
Welcome.
Yeah.
And I'm really curious, like, it's not like, a careers coach at school tells you that this is going to be your job. So I'm just really curious, how did Neal get to be this wisdom transformational guide?
Oh, thank you for asking that. So it would have been about 12 years ago, but I'm not taking away everything that I experienced as a child and everything that I was curious about, kind of from the more wider perspective, yet not really knowing what to do with that information when I was seeing things or feeling things or receiving things or sensing people so deeply. It didn't, nobody else was talking about it. So fast forwarding a little bit, I shut that part of me down, that part that is wisdom, that part that is intuitive, that part that is creative, that part that has actually come here to do work in this world through whatever it is that calls me to do work in this world. So I shut it down and went to regular school and went to university, got a psychology degree, and started having babies with my husband. I was a young mom. My first baby was at 24, who's now 28. And so shut all of that down and just wanted to live life the way that I saw everybody else trying to live life. But it just was so hard, so heavy, so painful, so many things coming into my life. I also had a debilitating autoimmune disease on my scalp, that my scalp bled constantly. It was a form of psoriasis. I had it all of my life. And about 12 years ago, you know, when they say you have a crash, I had a crash, but it was an internal crash.
Mhm.
Everything in my life, I had 4 children at that point, a husband, a home, living in New Zealand. Life looked okay from the outside because I was doing all of the things that I thought I was supposed to be doing. Yet the crash was not just crashing, it was exploding in me. And my immune system was so triggered, so heightened, based on these belief systems, based on all of these wounds that I was carrying that I didn't know I was carrying, that, you know, if somebody would take a pen and drop it on the ground, if it felt like there was an explosion happening right near me, and I would jerk, and I would, you know, I would jump, um and if there was a trigger coming at me, not a trigger, sorry, when a child would come at me, I called it at me, but it was just them being them, helping me to awaken. If my husband would come at me with something, that same explosion would happen, and it would come through with deep, deep anger, deep suffering. I didn't want to live, but I knew I couldn't go anywhere. And I share this because I know a lot of people experience that. It's different from a perspective of being suicidal and actually having plans to do it. You just don't want to be here, but you don't know how to get out. And you know you can't get out because you have people that love you and rely on you.
Mm. Wow, yeah. I concur. Um, Mine was 8 years ago, and it was I call mine a Mack truck, hit by a Mack truck, so a crash. And I was the same. I wanted off this moving ball of energy. I didn't want to leave, but I wanted off the moving ball. And again, probably like you, so I'm curious to see where to after that for you. But it was the breadcrumbs for me. And I'm curious, was it breadcrumbs that started your journey?
Yeah, it started with, actually, it was quite curious. It was a moment where I woke up in the morning one morning early for the first time because I was never able to get out of bed back then. It was dragging all parts of me. And that this time around, it was really early in the morning. And my mind felt silent for the first time. I didn't know that that was even possible. And it was like, I was like, this is different. I had no language to it. And I heard the message that came through when I said, this is different. I heard this sound, this voice come through. And it was in a way in my own voice, in very many different ways, in very many ways, it was just in my own voice, but there was a different kind of expression or vibration in it. And it said, well, what if you're doing this all wrong? And I recognize now that there's, of course, no wrong or right, but it was the only way that I could hear it. That was my first breadcrumb, and I entertained that message. And I said, well, because I'm always speaking to myself anyway, who's not, right? So I entertained it, and I said, well, if I'm doing it all wrong, how do I get it right?
Mm.
And in that moment, a book had popped up in my mind. It was a book by Wayne Dyer that I had on my bookshelf that I never actually read. I believe the title is if you can believe it, you can see it. In some aspect of that, I might be chopping it a little bit. And something in me landed, and I remember taking the kids to school. They were 4 kids, all in 4 different schools in kindies. And I came home and I threw on, thank God for this, I threw on YouTube, I put on Wayne Dyer, and that led me to a route of choosing me. I remember having this beautiful conversation again with that high, what I call right now, it's my highest self. It's my guides. It's now become a gathering. They come in such beautiful ways. I asked them, I said, what do I call you? And they were like, gathering. It's just a gathering. And it's not always a gathering of many. Sometimes it's of many. Sometimes it's a gathering of one. Sometimes it's just me and my highest self, intuition, my source. We can call it anything we want, but it's an actual experience that you have with this essence that is there guiding. And I said, I want to go out into the Himalayan mountains so I can actually do this work. And they said to me, if you go out into the Himalayan mountains, you'll do healing work. But when you come back into your life, it'll be a completely different kind of work. Do it here. These are your Himalayan mountains.
Mm.
And that's, yeah, it was beautiful. I was like, okay, I get it. So I created that space, which why I work with children and families. Yes, I work with individuals, but that is within the experience of whatever family you are experiencing in your life, whatever life family you have here, wherever they are, close, near, or far on the physical planet. Um, they are here working with us through their soul's purpose, collaborating with us, my daughter, my sons, both my daughters, both my sons, my husband, and my wide soul family, you can call them, in the physical form, that are here to help me to heal my wounds so that I can be here on purpose, with purpose, feel good in my life, and do those good things in my life. And I find that children are so powerful in that because they have such a vow, you can say, or they have such an intention to be your beautiful teacher or to be your beautiful guide, spoken even better, where they are here to do that. And as we do that, they start to do that too. They jump into that space. And so I do work with children, but in my work and what I call journeys with people, children come in and I say, okay, now I need to work with you as well. So the parents come into the space or the caregivers come into the space, and man, the healing. And I help them create those mountains for them where they start to see that transformation. And yeah, it was through small breadcrumbs, and I call them also big loaves.
Gold nuggets, I call them now, or gold boulders.
Yeah, right. It's like sometimes I had to tread really slowly because I had to really look for those crumbs. And sometimes, man, there were piles of loaves and croissants and muffins on that path. And not one is better or not than the other. They are equally powerful. And when I work with clients, I always say, share with me your reflections. And I don't want to just hear the big miracles, and man, they do happen. But I want to hear the small moments where nobody notices what you got.
Yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah. And I love that about
So,
the crumbs because if we in one of my tools before I started remembering was busyness. And so if you step into the, into those adaptations of survival, then the birds can sweep in and eat the breadcrumb up and you miss it. So,
yes, yeah,
but with practice, you're like, wow, I want to stay present
yeah.
because I don't want to miss this next breadcrumb. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I love that you just shared that with me because what popped in is an actual tool that I can even just offer right now in this moment. One of the things that I did, speaking about busyness, right? Because very, very often when we are navigating from the wounded part, it hurts too much. And so our defense mechanism finds ways to, help that quiet down or even, what do you call it? Um, um, yeah, just quiet it down. I can't say the word. Anesthetize it almost,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
get it numb, get it numb. And so I found again, because I'm a life guide, a healing guide, and a soul guide, all kind of within that oneness of what that is. My work is to bring that part of you into your everyday life because we don't want to be over there somewhere.
Mm.
We don't want to be over there somewhere. We want to tap into that other dimensional state that guides us, but we want to do it while living in this life. And so what I did was my busyness, my way of numbing it was I was an OCD cleaner. I cleaned my house because I didn't have a job then. Well, I was a stay-at-home mom with 4 kids. That was a main job. That was my purpose. And so I did the cleaning. I did all of that. So how do I bring that awareness to my busyness? And what I would do is, just to give you a simple example, when I would clean through that wounded part, I would just on autopilot, start from one end of the house, you know, it was a four-bedroom house, all the way through to the end, and then I would circle back around.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? And
Yeah.
you and you're like, and then at the end of the day, you're like, where did my day go? Right? Because I paid no attention to it because I was so good at cleaning. I knew every corner. I didn't have to think about it. And
Mm.
so during that time, I was in my mind, I was navigating all of that pain. I was having the stories, the blame, the explaining, the justifying of my life, right? That's when you know you're in the wounded part. Are you blaming? Are you blaming, trying to explain yourself, or trying to justify yourself?
Yeah.
It's from the wounded part. So I decided to take that same busyness, that same action, that same kind of cleaning, and become conscious and aware in it. So I would stop where I was in the beginning and I would say, what room do I want to go into? And I got guided into this other part of the house, whether it was the bathroom or it was another bedroom. And I'd go to, okay, and I'd step into the room and I'd say, okay, where do you want to guide me now? And I'd go to the bed and I make the bed. I would make everybody's bed. I did it all. Nobody needed to lift a
You were
finger.
excellent at it.
I was excellent at it. So I re-navigated that one thing that I was really, really excellent at bringing awareness in my moments at. And what I noticed is that time became a little bit slower. I became a little bit more present. I had more space to be reflective of what I was learning through the podcast that I was listening to. And those were like those huge, what could look like tiny breadcrumbs, but to me, they were loaves.
Mm. Yeah.
And that's kind of how I navigated it all. I started working first with kids through workshops. I became a certified wisdom life coach for children, and then started diving into energy work. Then parents started to come in and said, when are you going to teach this to us? I created a 9-week course. It was called Living on Purpose Now. It's not the big purpose of what do I do in my life, but bringing purpose into your everyday life. And it just keeps unfolding. And I've done beautiful groups, master hearts, with a small group of women. I've done online. I've done a retreat in Greece. I've done retreats here. And I didn't know, I would have never, ever, ever known that I would have been doing what I do right now. And I'm sure you can, I know you can say the same thing. I can feel it,
100%.
sense it. You would have told me this even a year ago, or 5 years ago, or 12 years ago. I would have said you were crazy. I mean, a year ago, I wouldn't say you're crazy anymore. I would say, bring it on.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. But it's interesting, I think you referred to soul families here on Earth, and it's not until you and I communicating 7 years ago, going, oh wow, there's some other mum over there doing, doing that. That's cool, So it's a bit of a I know there's a different type of Me Too movement, but it's a bit of a Me Too, like you're not alone, and that is the feminine and that was us 7 years ago, communicating in the feminine and that collaborative rather than competitive, which was how we were raised. And it's still happening within our school system. And there's more and more of us. There's plenty of room on the broom for
Yes.
us to support these, young people. And I know for me, for Heart Place Hospital, um, I was a Gumboot Friday provider, and I was the same, supporting these young people, for an hour, and then they were going back into the fire, like into their families, into their school systems, and that hour a week was nice. And at the time, you could see massive shifts because me too. I can shift with energy and mindset work, but if we don't have a barometer of us like a that ping pong game, like if you're not sort of hitting and getting the same kind of energy, then it's a little bit like self-care. You go and have a pedicure, have some happy thoughts, and then you go back into the same environment and it just comes back again. So and that was my big motivation with Heart Place Hospital was, okay, we've got Kids Can who are feeding and clothing our kids. We've got Gumboot Friday that is supporting the kids' mental health. but how about the barometer of everyone that they're bouncing into, and how about extending it out to this multidimensional being that we are? And you've talked about it. There's so many parts to us that show up, and it's awe-inspiring. I mean, we are awe-inspiring that our parts can protect us like they did. So with you, with your cleaning, and me with my busyness, and they helped me survive, and stay on this moving ball of energy when it was going so fast.
Yeah.
Until there was that void, until there was that crash or that Mack truck hit, and in that void the whispers returned, and mine was caring for carers. That was my whisper. And I thought, oh, easy, happy thoughts and pedicures, it'll be easy. And I'm sure you'll feel the same. It's simple, not easy.
Yes.
And so going on that tone, I'm just curious, what was your transition like? How did your family take that? How did your society take that? How did your friends, how did that show up for you? You and I and many others are breaking glass ceilings and these shards of glass on the way through. What was it like
Yeah.
getting through those shards of glass for you?
I could probably share this for hours and hours and hours, because with each kind of little soul group that I had, like you said, friends and family and beyond, it was all different in the way that it was expressed. My children softened easier. And don't get me wrong, I'm still working on wounds, excuse me, particularly with my older two. And we've done so much, well, with my younger two as well right now, because they're now older. And so we're working through wounds that I had created in my life to keep myself safe, or that I had carried generationally. And I just want to say this, just to give everybody an understanding and just to be a little bit more compassionate with themselves, looking at the world right now just from a more practical perspective. Look at where we've been born from. Look at where our parents and their parents and their parents and their parents have been born from. There was pain on the planet. There was that energy of fear, of competition, and competition to places where people would kill each other. We know that. I mean, I come from a generation of Holocaust, right? I don't have personal experience, but I have stories, and I know for sure that I'm carrying wounds from those experiences, but not just Holocaust. There's so many others that I've become aware of in my life, that I recognize. Ooh, so just having that compassion for yourself, that it's not just all you, that you're not just carrying what you've experienced here in this life, because on a whole, we are better. We are better than our parents were. We did change, even unconsciously on some level. You hear parents say, I'm better at that. You do hear parents say that. I'm more attentive to my children, or there is that. But know that it's not without the wounds that you're all still carrying, and they're generational. So be gentle with yourself through that process. I just wanted to share that because it's so important to remember that our parents just did the best that they could because of what they had, and their parents did the best that they could with what they had, and so on and so on and so on and so on. It goes back millennium, really.
Sure does.
Um,
Yeah.
so and beyond, right? And
Yeah,
beyond.
totally. Yeah.
So it's interesting. Like I said, I'm still beautifully working through experiences with my children. It's now, it's simple now. It's that simple that you're talking about. It's not that hard anymore. And that's, you said it's simple, but it's hard.
Simple,
Yes,
not
it
easy.
is. But
Simple,
it's,
not easy. Yeah.
say that again.
Simple, not easy.
Right. Simple, not easy.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So simple, not easy. Whereas now, because we're doing this work, and I would imagine many people, you would probably share that it's now easier, a lot easier.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And so when I see my daughter having a trigger, and I recognize that there's a wound there that that I've projected on her, and she's defined as her own, I pause and I go, right, what is needed in this moment? And that's where it becomes simple and easy, even though we still have to move through the experience of the discomfort of it.
Yeah.
So sorry, wrapping around, going back to your question. So my children, they were just doing their own thing. And I can see why now from my perspective and what I was given just a few months ago, actually, and I can share it. I'll remember it. Well, I'll share it now, is that I asked a couple of months ago to that gathering, is our children, how do we help them? And what dropped in so clearly and so simply for me was that they're fine, they will follow your lead. Help those that are carrying the wounds, they're the ones that need the help. And I got it so clear. And thinking back now, that is how my children reacted to it. They were fine, they followed my lead. I remember I after about 8 months of really doing that not easy work.
Mm.
And I looked up and I noticed that they were lighter.
Yeah.
My husband, there was heaps of resistance that took literally years. We've definitely come through that cycle. It's now a relationship that I didn't know could be, but it is for all of our highest and greatest selves, and really enjoying it. But husband years, I just kept saying, just stick with what you need to do here. Just keep sticking with here. Just keep sticking with here. That was my mantra. Every time I'd feel a heaviness, another beautiful mantra that anybody can use and you can make it your own is, I don't know what's going to happen here, because sometimes it was tough between him and I.
Sure. Yeah.
Like really tough. Like you wouldn't fault us for just kind of running in two different directions. You just would not fault us. People would say, yes, the best thing for you. But something in me went, I don't know what's going to happen, but it's going to be for the highest and greatest good of all. And that was my mantra. I don't know what's going to happen, but it's going to be for the highest and greatest good of all. And I meant it.
Thank you for sharing that. I think it's really, really important for men and women to hear these stories, you know, when we are being visible and showing up. And of course, you know, most of the time you're showing the best parts. That there are hurdles. There are curveballs, and none of us got, you know, the 101 book. It was literally channeled to us and through.
That is the 101 book.
Yeah, no, right?
That channel just got
Yeah.
distorted with all the
I
wounds.
guess I mean, you know, for the husbands, for the men, for the outsiders to actually kind of go, what is fundamentally happening to Jackie right now? What is happening to Inna right now? Like what is actually happening? And but yeah, the channel was, I don't know, but I'd be curious to hear what yours was like. I was sort of often like, look, and mine was my voice too, but again, a different tone. So as much as I was feeling like I was curled up in a fetus position, the voice was my voice, but with a clear tone, a clear, calm tone. And I was like, well, who is that person? So looking around, and then it wasn't until the channels became like, oh God, I've heard that before. Like, how do I know that? And that's when, you know, you just started building that trust and faith. So now when I support people or guide people, and I say, look, I am in abundance of trust and faith. I'm going to lend you some of mine, and we're gonna just come back, like you said, and reflect back, and you're going to see how this works. So I'm really curious. I'd love to just go into the channeling more now, because I know that's and perhaps maybe something might be able to come through now. We could do like a bit of a live channeling for people to see it, and yeah, see what comes up. I'll leave it to you. Yeah, leave it to them. Leave it to the gathering.
Love it. Yeah. So, well, I mean, you know, channeling, Like you said, that's, what you're saying, exactly that. That's for me, from my perspective. Yes, I very much received that as well. That's my highest self. That channel is something that was always there. Again, the wounded parts distorted it. I forgot that it even was there. I couldn't see it. I didn't even know that it existed until like you said, I began remembering it. And the more I remembered it, the more that channel part, that highest self of me, guided me to heal what wounds wanted to be healed, what wanted to fall away. And there's, energy that comes through with that. And then there's gathering, where I sense other essences, and they come through very clear. So yeah, I mean, let's open it up. Let's just see what comes up. If you have any questions, if you just anything that's kind of popping in for you that you want to come through.
Mm. Yeah, I guess for me, I'm 2.5 weeks out from my biggest fundraiser. So
Mm.
doing lots of doing for that. But feeling really centered, neutrality, equanimity, and excitement. And then there's a part of me is like, what if it rains? What if people don't turn up? What if people don't understand? So that's something that's in my stratosphere. So I wonder if anything came through in regards to that.
Well, what came through very quickly from them was that, I mean, they can be a little bit funny sometimes. They can be funny. It's like, you're never going to know.
Thanks.
You're never going to know. You're never going to know. And your work, and what they're saying is your work is to just continuing to do what you feel, that peace within. Like you already know that, you already sense that, you already feel that. There is a wounded part there that wants to be worked with there, if that's kind of what you're asking, and opening up. So the way that I chat, I mean, what this looks like is what a session with me would look like, right? So it's that kind of channeling. So in a session is I guide you. I receive from your highest self. I kind of meet your highest self in this beautiful space of communion, and your highest self guides me to guide you where you could see the wounded parts. Does that make sense?
It does, yeah.
Yeah. So do you want to just go for it?
Let's do it.
Okay, let's go. Let's go. So I'm going to do, it's going to be a short form, a kind of a short
Sure.
version of
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
So I'm going to invite you to close your eyes, because that just takes away that external, all that energy externally for a moment. The things that, yeah, just take a few breaths. Beautiful, just beautiful few breaths. Yeah. And I want you to just notice for a moment your highest self, and you can get there, I'm sure, very quickly. And highest self can be above you, around you, through you. There's just, you don't even have to see that part of you. You could just know that it's there. And let me know when you can experience that part of you. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
beautiful. And that highest self is just from where you are, because highest self communes with us in every moment that we need, right? So sometimes it's wisdom, sometimes it's creativity. In this moment, it's just beaming light, like a torch, beaming light to the parts of you that feel that wound, that feel that fear. What if something is going to go wrong? What if there's not going to be enough or lack of something? What if there's going to be rain on your parade? Where do you feel that wound? Where can you sense that wounded part?
For me, it's in the sacral.
Yeah.
Mm,
I could feel that.
yeah.
Yeah. I'm just going to share this. I don't often share, but I will share it. It's in the sacrum and also a little bit to the left for some reason I'm getting. So I'm just kind of putting it out there. Yeah. And if you kind of observed from that part of you, because you're observing from higher self and you looked into that space, that sacrum where you feel that, what do you see in there?
Oh, interesting. I see like a little baby actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. What is that baby doing?
Um, spinning.
Mm, yeah. And if you had a sense of how that baby feels in that spinning state, what does it feel like for that baby?
Feels like quite like sort of dizzy, sort of dizzy
Mm.
fast. Yeah.
Sorry, what was the last thing you said?
Too fast.
Too fast. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful. And now what we're going to do is from your highest self, that light is beaming to that baby, but also beaming out, radiating. You don't know exactly where it's going, but you know that that light radiates to all parts of you. And now from your highest self, and I'm going to invite you to say this out loud with love and compassion. I'm so sorry you're spinning too fast.
I'm so sorry you're spinning too fast.
I'm so sorry you can't slow down.
I'm so sorry that you can't slow down.
So sorry you can't control any of this.
I'm so sorry you can't control any of this.
I'm so sorry it's coming at you too hard and fast.
I'm so sorry that it's coming at you too hard and fast.
I'm so sorry you can't stop.
I'm so sorry you can't stop.
I'm so sorry you're so dizzy.
I'm so sorry you're so dizzy.
I'm so sorry you have nothing to hold on to and anchor to.
I'm so sorry you have nothing to hold on to and anchor to.
I'm so sorry it hurts.
I'm so sorry it hurts.
And just take a breath. I'm just going to invite you to look down at that baby. And just from where you are, what does that baby look like now? What's happening? What do you see?
Just looking up and smiling.
Okay.
Yeah. And interesting, like a yellow color.
Yeah.
Um, it's almost like a little baby chicken, like a yellow baby chicken.
Yeah.
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 So, yeah, kind of, a bit fun.
Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful. 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 So again, just noticing highest self, noticing that highest self is just beaming that light to you in all directions, expanding through you and from you and all around you into that little baby. I'm so sorry it's all new for you. And just repeat that. I'm so sorry it's all new for you. That's okay.
Sorry, I didn't hear. I'm so sorry.
It's all new for you.
New for you.
I'm so sorry you're like a new chick.
I'm so sorry you're like a new chick.
I'm so sorry you thought you were meant to know everything right away, right now.
I'm so sorry that you thought you needed to know everything right now.
I'm so sorry they need you to know everything right now.
I'm so sorry that you needed you needed to know everything right now.
Yeah, that's okay. It's part of the process. It's part of the process. Take a breath. It's beautiful. I'm so sorry you thought they needed you to know everything right now.
I'm so sort of sorry that they thought you needed to know everything right now.
I'm so sorry they looked to you when it was all new and you were just learning.
I'm so sorry that they looked to you when you were just new and you were learning.
I'm so sorry it felt too much.
I'm so sorry it felt too much.
I'm so sorry it felt too hard.
I'm so sorry it felt too hard.
Yeah, and you can move your body in any way that feels good. Your highest self is guiding you to whatever is calling you to feel, to see, to experience. And what does that chick look like now?
It's more, there's not really a chick there, it's sort of more a bright white light.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it feels, yeah, when I sort of think back to what I originally said to you, I'm sort of like, yeah,
Yeah, beautiful,
yeah,
beautiful. And as you look over to that beautiful white light, is it ready to merge in with you as you? Just check in and see. Or if there's something else.
no, it's sort of getting bigger.
Beautiful. So just take your time and allow it to just feel complete to where you are, knowing that if it needs to continue, it will. But just let me know when it feels complete.
Mm. Yeah, it feels like a big nimbus, a big white sun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
beautiful. There you go. That's just one. There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yummy.
yeah,
Yeah. Thank you so much.
yeah. Yeah. And that's, when we can see those wounded parts where, when, like you said, there's that busyness, right? Mm, and just know when we can actually just be with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the same thing when we're channeling and being with highest self. It's not different. Being with the wound, it feels different. When you're notice that I was guiding you into both. You were in highest self
Mm.
and in the wound, and you were working from highest self.
Yeah. So my high self was like weaving all the way through me and around me. And then, yeah, then I just felt this like a stuckness. Um, and yeah, interesting that it was it was a baby.
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
that's what I feel like I'm doing is birthing,
yeah,
a new movement, a new concept,
yeah,
a new way of being.
yeah,
So yeah,
yeah. Beautiful. And I love that kind of synchronicity with that because what I received is that we were actually working with the baby as you.
yeah,
We were working with that baby that came into this world that was all new, bright-eyed, and they just went, I need you to do that.
yeah, yeah. Nice. Yeah.
Does that
And
make
I
sense?
think that's the beautiful thing with yourself and myself and many others who are on the broom, is that we're the bridge. We've had we've lived the lives where we were trying to fit in, and
Mm,
now we've moved into the era where we've found our belonging,
mm,
and we can be the bridges and the light at the top of the lighthouse. And this is why I keep bringing up the kids, and having some lights at the top of the lighthouse for our kids and families. Because like you said, like kids, I remember, you remember as a child, I remember as a child having this knowing, but not having anywhere to express it. So I
mm,
think it's really important that our generation coming through in this new era, this new earth, have those lights at the top of the lighthouse to see some examples and some leadership, really. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, for me, and this kind of comes, this is also channeled that I receive over and over again. And I'm receiving it now more from that global perspective that you're to, right? So our work is to do our own individual work. We cannot do anything other than that before we can expand out and help others. I just this last week, I had a beautiful breakthrough, and I was actually the ongoings of it. I had a beautiful session with one of my guides, healing me, not healing me, sorry, guiding me to the wounds that wanted to be. And there was such a great opening in that did create some kind of wobble in me, because I was recalibrating, I was shifting, I was feeling, I was becoming aware of these things that I didn't know were there, that I thought I healed over and over again. And that's really important for us as healing guides, is to continue to do our work. Like, I never stopped. I would imagine you never, ever stop. I had an experience. I went to take a bath last night. I actually shared it with you because I was like, I'm going to take a bath and I'll see you tomorrow, just
Yeah, yeah.
confirming. But I knew that I needed to get into that bath, because I can feel that yesterday I was not feeling that alignment with myself, and it was uncomfortable for me, and I couldn't find a space. And I heard this I haven't heard it before in that very stern. The word was stern, and that's go take a bath, go take a bath, because it knew that I was constantly finding something else to do, like the dishes, like feeding someone, like feeding myself. Still go, because in a bath, I'm not able to move. I have to do the work. So it guided me there. And I had a beautiful experience that my highest self took me through, where I was this young child that was free. And it gave me, from in the vision, and I'm not saying that I had wings, but it gave me a vision where I had wings. And because I was so free, I caused some danger in my family, danger to myself, because I was so free. I remember a big, old, heavy, like a antique cupboard that was in my mother's room, and I was climbing it, and it fell on me, and it got me caught. None of the edges got me. It was like when they lifted it, I was just in a ball. And I scared them so much that they cut my wings. They cut my freedom.
Mm,
Can you sense that?
yeah,
Right. So it doesn't mean I was physically having these wings, but on an energetic level, these wings to me are that freedom to be me.
yeah,
And they cut them because they were worried that I was going to hurt myself.
yeah.
And what was curious is that, I'm just sharing it because I'm remembering it.
That's beautiful.
As these wings, as I recognize that those wings are there, right where my shoulder blades, just below my shoulder blades, I felt this cold, energetic, even though I was in a hot bath. I felt this cold energy, not painful, just cold. I knew, a healing is happening.
Yeah,
And I
beautiful.
just had to be with it. But,
Mm.
just so thank you for letting me regress into
Yeah,
that. 'Cause
yeah, no,
again, it's so important to remember that we all need to do this kind of work.
yeah.
And when we do that, then our work to be able to do it out in the world, like you said, get on that broom in whatever way guides you, whether you are a mother and you just want to be on that broom for your children, or you're a business owner or a leader and you want to be on that broom with your team,
Mm,
or you want to be on stage, or you want to be an author, or you just want to quietly live. You love your life, you want to quietly live the way it is, but be on that broom is that is our work.
yeah,
Yet going back to what you're sharing about children, yes, they need to see us doing that. They need to see us doing that work. And what I received over and over in channeling that often comes through for me, and this is more that gathering, more that very vast perspective of what's happening to our planet. And I got this message back in 2020, just before COVID hit New
mhm,
Zealand. It was started already in the world. It was, around February before we went into lockdown. And I remember waking up from this really weird dream, and I can't remember what the dream was, but I remember saying, oh my God, our something is happening to our planet. Something is happening. And I knew that COVID was already there. We just haven't experienced it yet here. I said, oh my goodness, it's coming here. But that wasn't what was really profound for me. It was like it's breaking down the financial system.
Mm.
Now, I am non-financial literate in any way. So to me, that was really, really weird. If you said it was because I was a mother and I was in the school system on some level with my kids, right?
Mm.
And I was already doing work with children, if it said it's breaking down the educational system, I'd be like, well, that makes sense. Of course, that was my thought coming through, but it said it's breaking down the financial system. And it did that because it wanted me to just recognize that all of these structures are falling apart. The medical, the mental health, how the medical system is falling away. I know how the medical system is falling away. I know how the mental health system is falling away. I know how the education system is falling away. We actually just started homeschooling our 12-year-old. Yeah, yeah, which is beautiful. We're on cloud nine.
Yeah.
It's an incredible experience. I'm not saying it's for everyone, but we're just really loving and enjoying it. And all systems are falling away. And they're saying, don't be afraid, but do your own work. Don't be afraid, but do your own work. Come back into your home and have that connection with your highest self. Heal those parts of you that distorted that connection, that you couldn't hear the whispers. The whispers are there. They're loud and clear, and they're for you in any way that you are being called to receive from them. Don't worry, you don't have to go into channeling. You can channel just your intuition. That is enough if that's what you're called to do.
Yeah.
Keep choosing it. And that kind of, if you don't mind, I'll just share a little bit quickly. That brings me back to another question that you asked. How did it impact your friend group? Well,
Mm.
I had this very close friend group. There were 6 of us, and I knew them since my son, my third son, who's now 17, since he was about a year old, and we just became this little family. We took trips on weekends together. We had dinners. We had bubbles Fridays, not coffee dates, but bubbles dates. We knew each other's husbands. We knew each other's children. We took care of each other's children. And when I started to do this work, there was a clear, and I'm not blaming it, there was a clear, they didn't know, they were uncomfortable with my changing, and it turned into my own wounded part where I was being on some level laughed at,
Mm.
mocked. Even my husband was mocking me, so it wasn't that surprising, but yes, it hurt. Of course it hurt.
Mm.
And I had this question to ask myself, do I go back to the way that I was, or do I keep choosing this thing that I don't know what this thing is? And unapologetically, I said, me, whatever falls away is going to fall away. And I just need to choose, 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 choose. And as I did that, and it took again some time, whatever that time is, for me, it feels like a couple of years, but I'm not sure. It all did come full circle. And because the world is also speaking of it more out loud, the way we're doing here, the way we're doing here on this podcast, and everywhere you can look, there's all these different teachers and light workers and people that are giving it. We've come all back together mostly, but those that have come back together in our true, most lightest, authentic, beautiful, loving selves.
Oh, thank you for bringing that piece back in.
Yeah.
It's so important.
Yeah.
And I saw a meme the other day. What would you tell your 18-year-old self? And I've got an 18-year-old and a 16-year-old. And I thought, wouldn't it be just great to always be going, look at the bigger picture? This is happening, this curveball's happening, or this magic and miracles happening. Wonder what the bigger picture is to this.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
same with that, with that experience, those friends. And you keep bringing it back to yourself.
Yeah.
And they did what they could do at that time, the best they could do. And like you say, and now even looking back a year, you're looking at yourself and you're like, what? Me too. I love it. Thank you so much. This has been beautiful, a beautiful connection, and I would love to wind this up. But I know that we'll be keeping on talking. And what's coming up in your heart place right now that you can share with the listeners? Do you have any offerings that you could share with them? How can they contact you? And like, I just keep reiterating this. I think there's just such gold in having someone who can work with the whole unit.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'd love to hear what's coming up in your heart place to share.
So at the moment, what I work on is I work on journeys. So I can work with an individual, and a journey is an extended amount of time where I'm walking with you as your guide. And these journeys just depend on how long, how long we go, right? Just trusting that part. And it could be with one individual. Not everybody wants to choose it, right? I have people that I work with a child, and the parent doesn't choose it. So I still do work on some level with the parent, but it's about just how to continue to tap in and be with the child. I have some parents that the family doesn't want to work with, or the husband doesn't want to work with. And then I have some families where all of them work together, and it's magical. So there's no wrong or right. We're not here to make anyone do it. We're here to be that for ourselves. And then they can, and as we are that for ourselves, we open up the space, and those people start to step into that space and then choose whatever guidance they want to choose. So at the moment, they can contact me. I'm sure you can somewhere put in my details, or just Inna Neal on Messenger. I'm happy to share my phone number if you want to put it somewhere. You could just message me, but I'm available on those platforms. So Messenger or text is beautiful. I also run monthly group sessions online. They're on Zoom, so you're in your own home, but you're within that space with people. And it's kind of a snippet to step into that, which I feel like it will be eventually evolving. I feel like it's going to become more of a just a monthly kind of group where we come in, and then a new month is another new month, but that's something else. But yeah, right now it would be on your journey, whether you want to do a one-to-one journey with me, or dive into the monthly sessions that I have, that I've been doing since last November. Those are the two things. Yeah.
Oh, beautiful. Oh, well, thank you so much for coming on Heart Place Hospital podcast. And we look forward to sharing this between our two communities, and creating beautiful corners of the world, and expanding our network of love and compassion so that it extends far and wide. Because, like you say, working on ourselves, it's a ripple effect off out to others. And that's what the world needs most of right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And if I had to answer tell my 17-year-old self, I would say trust life.
Yeah.
Trust life and be curious. Yeah. Trust life.
I love that. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's my blessing. I've had such a great time. Thank you.
Me too. Yeah, lots of love. Talk to you soon.
Yes. Bye, my darling.